आपका व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप पे रेंजर साहब किसी का भेज देंगे।
ठीक है పర్వాలేదు నిలబడి చెప్తాను మామూలుగా చెప్తాను గుడ్ ఆఫ్టర్నూన్ వెల్కమ్ బ్యాక్ I am also giving one presentation and I think most of you are know about many legal issues and many policy issues, many management aspects you are aware because you are working in the forest department since many years. Since you are aware of these management aspects, especially this biodiversity conservation, and we will recapitulate on many aspects of this biodiversity conservation, access and benefit sharing, sustainable management, and various legal issues, policy issues that are global level, at national level, and at state level also. We are following many policy matters, administrative matters, legal uh, um, laws also we are implementing for protection of our biodiversity, our sustainable management and conservation of our genetic resources, especially forest genetic resources, including flora and fauna. I'm not a scientist. I will be, my presentation will be a general presentation next. Uh, Regarding this is the biodiversity, definition of the biodiversity. I think it includes both plant and animal biodiversity, and it includes three levels. They are at genetic diversity, biodiversity, species biodiversity, and ecological biodiversity. Genetic biodiversity means races. I think within the species races are there. Many varieties are there. Like human beings, there will be many species is same, Homo sapiens, but there will be many races. We belong to Australoid race. Africans belong to Negrito race. Like Chinese belong to Mongoloid race. These constitute the races constitute the genetic biodiversity of the species. Like in nature also, many plants, animals, there will be many varieties, and within the rice many varieties are there. Within the banana many there, that is the genetic diversity. That genetic biodiversity constitute the, within the species there will be different races that constitute the genetic biodiversity. We have to conserve this genetic biodiversity also. And species level also, species biodiversity includes different species. uh, it includes all species, like elephant is one species, tiger is one species. All such species constitute the species biodiversity. And ecological level, ecosystem biodiversity, we have many ecosystem types, like forest ecosystem, grassland ecosystem, like marine coastal ecosystem. All these ecosystems constitute the ecological biodiversity. We have to conserve biodiversity at all these three levels. This is the basic concept of biodiversity conservation. Next, and actually, if we go back to the history, in 1992 there was a Earth Summit at Rio de Janeiro, Brazil was held. Earth Summit was held. There we have three important conventions were held. One is the UNFCCC, because this global warming and climate change, for mitigating climate change effects. This UNFCCC was signed. One convention was UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. And second one is the UNCBD, the United Nations Convention on Conservation of Biological Diversity, UNCBD. This is related to conservation of biological diversity. And third also, one more convention was also signed at the Rio Summit itself, that is the UNCCD. Because this soil is degraded, desertification is taking place. To combat desertification, UNCCD was also signed. That UNCCD means United Nations Convention to combat desertification. Three important conventions were signed. India also signed these three important conventions. And today's topic is, we are discussing about UNCBD only, because this is related to biodiversity conservation, access and benefit sharing of genetic resources. And this UNCBD, India is the signatory. 196 countries have signed. UNCBD secretariat is at Montreal, Canada. And uh, except this USA and Vatican, all other countries have signed this UNCBD. And we are also submitting this, our country compliance reports every year to UNCBD, and all these countries are called parties to the convention. India is also a party to the convention, signatory. It is a legally binding document too. And in 2012, conference of parties 11 was held in Hyderabad also. And in 2010 in Nagoya, Japan, there was a conference of parties 10 was also held. That was basically related to convention on this access and benefit sharing. That is the in continuation of this UNCBD, Nagoya Protocol was also signed. This basic next. The main goals of the UNCBD include one, conservation of biological diversity, and second is the sustainable use of components of the biodiversity, and third is the fair and equitable sharing of benefits arising from the genetic resources. These three are the major goals of the UNCBD, and we have to because we are the signatory, we have to implement these at the field level, local level. And to achieve these goals, we have to make many legal policy changes at national level, at state level also. We have enacted many laws and to achieve these goals. And subsequent to this, there are many targets were also fixed. And recently there was a meeting, Kunming biodiversity targets were also fixed. 17 targets are fixed for 2030. We have to achieve these targets before 2030. These 17 targets for conservation of biological diversity. Like in 2010 also, this Aichi targets were fixed. Aichi is a place in Japan. There also in conference of parties 10, they have fixed 20 targets for 2020. But no country has achieved any target fully. But we have made remarkable progress in conservation of biological diversity and sustainable management of genetic resource, biological resources, and for achieving fair and equitable sharing of benefits. Because at global level, there was no regulation for use of genetic resources for commercialization. But we have made the important legal aspects also. Many administrative machinery is also created. Next. And these are the main components of main strategies for conservation of sustainable biological diversity, asserting intrinsic value of biodiversity. Because the value of biodiversity, if it is known, then only we can make it commercial. Affirming conservation of biodiversity as a common concern of population. It is a common concern for all. And taking responsibility to conserve biodiversity in the state, and the state uses the biodiversity sustainably. Affirming the state of to put the biological resources on the sovereign rights of the state too, because all states have their sovereign rights of their genetic resources. And taking a precautionary approach towards conservation of biodiversity. Precautionary approach means we have to prevent from extinction. That is the precautionary approach. Highlighting the vital role of local communities and women, because local communities, these tribals, Vaids, Akims, this indigenous local native people, they are holding the traditional knowledge, and we have to recognize their document their traditional knowledge, and we have to protect their traditional knowledge, because traditional knowledge is also being lost. And supporting access to technologies developing countries, searching for provision for new and additional financial resources also. That is financial aspects. These are the 7 strategies for conserving biological diversity. Next. And to achieve this strategy and targets, India also enacted Biological Diversity Act 2002 and Biodiversity Act. We have enacted in continuation of UNCBD. We have enacted Biodiversity Act 2002 for regulation of access to biological resources of the country. Because a lot of biopiracy was happening, because many our plant and animal resources were taken abroad without, like not only forest biodiversity, but agriculture biodiversity was also freely taken to other countries. Like in Andhra Pradesh, there is a breed of Ongol breed cattle, and Germans, these Brazilians, they were taking and they were breeding them, and we were not getting any royalty for taking those. And this indigenous local biodiversity has to be protected, and we country has to get royalty. That is the purpose of Ongol breed.
famous.
Yeah, that is one example. Like many other things, biodiversity has to be preserved, and protecting the knowledge of local communities, because India holds a lot of traditional knowledge. Because even this haldi was made, one product was made from haldi, and USA has company patented it, but India has contested it, because haldi is used in India since the time immemorial as a medicinal, because it holds many medicinal properties. Like such local communities regarding their traditional knowledge has to be protected, and secure sharing of benefits with local people, because in many areas, many, not only in India, Africa and Latin America, many local tribals, they use a lot of even the tribals, they use a lot of medicinal plants and other forest products for various purposes, for healing diseases, curing diseases, for many other purposes they are used. And if their traditional knowledge is commercialized, the local people has to get benefit. And this is the this provision has also been made in the Biodiversity Act 2000, protection and rehabilitation of threatened species. Some threatened species also have to be protected, and provisions for that also made in the Biological Diversity Act 2002. Like many rare endangered species, they have to be protected. Not only that, India signed this CITES agreement also. CITES means Convention in International Trade in Endangered Species. CITES also agreement also India signed. Under that was Appendix 1 to 2, 3 are there. Appendix 1, 2, 3 listed plant and animal species are regulated by this CITES country office in India, and CITES they regulate the trade of this rare endangered species, and they fix some quota, and the permission is required for their transport to other export to other countries. And the Biological Diversity Act also made provision, and then there was a provision for punishing this non-bailable case also was there into Biodiversity Act 2002. Many were booked for biopiracy, but now in 2023 Amendment Act, that cognizable offence provision has been removed. Now it is not cognizable under 2023 Act, but earlier in 2002 it was a very stringent act for committing the crime under Biodiversity Act. It was a non-bailable offence, cognizable offence used to be. And involvement of institutes of the governments in broad schemes of the implementation of the Biological Diversity Act. Many broad schemes have been made, because under Biodiversity Act we have established the National Biodiversity Authority at Chennai. It is functioning. National Biodiversity Authority is functioning at Chennai, and all states have state biodiversity boards are also established. Like in Orissa also state biodiversity board is there,
Yes, yes.
and Madam Mita Vishwal Madam is the chairperson of the State Biodiversity Board. Under this Biodiversity Act only, we have made all these things in continuation of UNCBD, and locally notified threatened species and prohibit the and regulate the collection of rehabilitation, because we have to notify the threatened species, because under this Biodiversity Act we have established this biodiversity management committees also at panchayat level and municipality level. BMCs they have established. It is mandatory, and this act for you comes under NGT. If it is not implemented, like the other environmental forest laws, Forest Act, Wildlife Act, Environment Protection Act, and Forest Conservation Act, and Biodiversity Act, all these Biodiversity Act also comes under the purview of NGT. NGT is a special court, and it bypasses all the other civil courts, and NGT deals with this violation of Biodiversity Act case. Even some of the state governments were fined for not implementing the provisions of Biodiversity Act, because they have not established biodiversity management committees in their state, and they have not made people biodiversity registers. Under this act, they have to make people maintain people biodiversity registers. Next, uh, and some of the exemptions were also given. Uh, No, local traders they will not be applicable. They can easily trade. Traditional healers they can use. Farmers they can use. They can cultivate their varieties and they can breed their local varieties. They are not applicable. Local Vaidyas they can use this traditional systems of medicine and they can collect plants like Ayurvedic practitioners. They are exempted. Farmers they are exempted. Tribals they are exempted. Indigenous knowledge holders they are exempted from the purview of the act. But who comes under the purview of the act? This pharmaceutical companies, the traders, those who do commercial activities using our genetic resources, they come under the purview of the Biodiversity Act. Because this pharmaceutical companies they make money not for livelihood sake. They are not using, farmers they are using for production of food. Tribals they use it for only for their bona fide use they can use. But commercial companies, if Indian companies use, they have to take permission from state biodiversity board for use of any biological resource, forest resource or any other genetic resource. But if a foreign company use, they have to take permission from National Biodiversity Authority. If they want to use or commercialize any local genetic resource or biological resource, NBA permission is required for foreign companies. Any foreign company, if they want to commercialize any our genetic resource, they have to take permission from NBA. NBA advises the central government, and state biodiversity boards advise the state governments. Next, and National Biodiversity Authority functions, and basically they prevent biopiracy, and it is a advisory body to the state governments as well as central government, and deals with all biodiversity conservation matters of at the global level also. They participate in conference of parties of the CBD. They will submit country reports to the UN CBD Secretariat at Montreal. All these functions are performed by the National Biodiversity Authority. And National Biodiversity Authority also funds this biodiversity management committees also. Even if a biodiversity management committee is formed at the panchayat level or municipality level, each biodiversity management committee will get 2 lakh rupees from National Biodiversity Authority through state government. And it is a mandatory for preparation of people biodiversity register. And any dispute regarding the use of bioresources, they have to be dealt by the the National Biodiversity Authority. State biodiversity boards will refer to National Biodiversity Authority in case of any dispute between any company, pharmaceutical company, any other company, and state biodiversity board. It will be referred to the National Biodiversity Authority for settlement. Next, and this is the basic structure of the. There is a chairperson, and there will be ex officio members from all the departments of the various ministries like Agriculture Ministry, Department of Agriculture, Department of Biotechnology, Department of Ocean Development, and Department of Agriculture and Cooperation, and Department of Indian Systems of Medicine and Homeopathy, Department of Science and Technology, Scientific and Industrial Research. All these secretaries of the central government are the members of the ex officio members of the National Biodiversity Authority. And next, there will be a member secretary for National Biodiversity Authority also. And similarly, state biodiversity boards also, they will have a chairperson and other ex officio members from various other departments and some NGOs also. This is the structure of the state biodiversity board. Next, and biodiversity management committees also, and their main role is preservation of habitats, conservation of landscapes, preservation of folk varieties and varieties of cultivators, domesticated stocks and breeds of animals, microorganisms, and chronicling of knowledge related to biological diversity. And this the structure of this biodiversity management committee includes a chairperson and 6 persons nominated by the local body. Local body means Gram Panchayat. They nominate 6 persons, and there will be a chairperson for the biodiversity management committee. This is the structure, and they have to maintain the people by PBR, People's Biodiversity Register, and preservation of habitats, conservation of landscapes. Because under biodiversity, this Act 2002, in many areas, biological heritage, biodiversity heritage sites have been declared, where some local flora, fauna, or rare endangered threatened species, or some natural landscapes are there, or where some wetlands are there, which invite to this migratory birds. Such all biodiversity rich areas can be declared as biodiversity heritage sites under Biodiversity Act. Even IUCN also declares biodiversity heritage sites like Western Ghats. They are rich in biodiversity. They are the Himalayan region. They are all IUCN heritage sites. Similarly, under biodiversity management committees also, Biodiversity Act also, uh, biodiversity heritage sites can be declared. In Orissa also, any biodiversity
Yes, sir.
heritage site has been declared.
Kandamala. Right.
Okay, that is the biodiversity heritage site. They can declare local biodiversity because the purpose. What is the purpose of this people's biodiversity register? If we don't have any legal document, then we can't defend in the court. So today there won't be, we can't find any value in some particular plant or animal species. In future, so some active compound may be, some pharmaceutical formulation may be made, some active chemical compound may be made, some other use may be come from local genetic resource, and some company may market it claiming that it is their innovative product. Then local people will not fail to get anything, no. If they have recorded that local traditional knowledge, local plant variety or animal variety, this is a legal document, PBR, as per Biodiversity Act, as well as under CBD also. PBR is a legal document that can be defended in the court of law in case of any dispute, or if any company commercializes any product. Local people can claim, local indigenous people can claim, and they can get royalty or some benefit from the profits made from the use of that genetic resource or biological resource. That is the purpose of making this people's biodiversity registers. Like even not only that, this act should not contradict with other acts. India signed TRIPS agreement. I think you know this Trade Related Intellectual Property Rights Act. India, under that, any company, if they make any innovation, discovers any new product, they can patent it, the companies, under TRIPS agreement. India is also a signatory to TRIPS agreement. Now it has made into the World Trade Organization. World Trade Organization regulates the patents because many pharmaceutical companies, many other companies, innovations they may make, and they can patent it. They will patent it because their products have to be patented. Even genetically modified organisms are also being patented. Like BT cotton, it is patented by Monsanto company. But if we claim that genes used for that genetic modification is from some organism growing in a particular locality, then that local people can claim royalty. Next, these are the functions of BMC. Uh, I think all of you know, you must be working with your BMCs in your level, at your village panchayat level. And next, People's Biodiversity Register. It will document all flora, fauna, including forest biodiversity, agriculture biodiversity, cattle biodiversity, even microorganisms also, bacteria, fungi. All organisms are recorded and documented in this People's Biodiversity Register. And apart from that, local traditional knowledge is also recorded and in this People's Biodiversity Register. Suppose some local Vaidya or local Ayurvedic healer or Unani healer or local any other traditional healer, if they use any particular plant medicine for curing any disease, whether it is related to human disease or cattle disease, all those things will be recorded in this People's Biodiversity Registers. And in future, if any company commercializes that traditional knowledge and they make a profit by selling that product, that local people can claim that it is their traditional knowledge and they can be compensated for using their traditional knowledge. That is the purpose of this People's Biodiversity Register. Next. And Nagoya Protocol also tells the same thing, that gives a model for fair and equitable sharing of benefits arising from the utilization of genetic resources. This was adopted in 2010 and came into effect in 2014. And India is also a signatory for this Nagoya Protocol for access and benefit sharing. And next, and its importance is mainly for sharing of access and benefit sharing, sustainable management, and for protecting the traditional knowledge. If any some genetic resources are used, like any plant or animal or microorganisms, they are genetically modified or they are used, they can be this local people have to be benefited, because many organisms occur in specific locality only. Like the people are using some product in particular locality, geographical area, even under trips agreement also. And geographical indications, patents will be given, copyrights will be given, geographical indications will be given. Even India also made this patents and geographical indications copyrights act in 1999. Under that, patents will be made any for new product, new innovation, new commercialization of any new variety of plant or animal species under the Geographical Indications Act. Even the Nagoya Protocol also recognizes it, because in Goa they make fenny from cashew apples by distillation of those cashew fruits. Local people they make liquor, this fenny liquor, that will be patented that and protected under Geographical Indication Act. And only Goa only it will be made. No other place it will not be made. In future, if some other state or some other party or some other nation they use this to, and they claim it as a fenny, and this Goa state government can dispute it. They can claim royalty from them. They cannot be prevented from commercializing it and selling it as fenny. Like in Orissa also many geographical indications are given to forest products. What are the products?
जस्ट दिस कारी चटनी जो बनाते हैं
हाँ,
उसका भी जीआई टैग हो गया
GI tag हो गया. In future, no other can make it as a GI. They cannot use it as. And if they use it also, these people have to be state has to be compensated. Like in Mysore sandal oil, the Mysore that is patented. Sandalwood nowadays oil is extracted everywhere, but Mysore sandal oil it has got geographical indication status. Even many forest products, forest based, it is growing in particular state, it is native to particular place, or growing in a particular geographical location, or used by the people of community of people. Only certain areas in only one tribal community uses one plant variety or animal, some genetic resource, and if it is commercialized, and then only that community will be given royalty under this Nagoya Protocol also. Next, and the Nagoya Protocol also mentions about access to genetic resources. Access should not be denied. Local people have the access. They have access, but inventions have to be made. We can't, if we don't make invention, nothing will come out new. And access should be given, but pre-informed consent should be taken. That is the provision of under Nagoya Protocol. And this that certain model is there. Only that community will be informed if they want to commercialize it, or they want to conduct further research, or they want to use that genetic resources. And this is called pre-informed consent. For that, this NPI is functioning, that taking the role of pre-informed consent. Next, and benefit sharing. If some commercial product is made through R&D, or some new product is made, new innovation is made, new biological product is made, or new hormone or protein is synthesized using this genetic resources like bacteria, or new living modified organism is made, like using like BT cotton or other thing, and benefit sharing model is to be done. And compliance is regulated by state biodiversity boards and national biodiversity. These are the local level. Next, and Cartagena Protocol on biosafety was also made to CBD, because after BT cotton was introduced, and this genetically modified organisms were also freely exported to other countries. And even Monsanto company also established their BT cotton seeds factory, and they are supplying. All cotton farmers are depending on this BT cotton, because this bacterial genes are introduced into cotton, and that bacterial genes produce a specific protein, and in the leaves, when these leaves are eaten by this insect pests, they die. That is the concept of the BT cotton, and that same concept is used in other even BT brinjal, BT tomato, even BT mustard also made, but all those were not introduced because under Cartagena protocol, and if any country want to export any of their genetically modified organism, local they should take permission from bio safety clearance house. Biosafety clearance house is made under this Cartagena protocol, and this was protocol was signed in 2000. India also signed and came into force in 2003. Under Cartagena protocol, a biosafety clearance house will be established at international level, and the country who want to export to any living modified organism, they have to inform the biosafety control house. If they give clearance, and if the importing country also is willing to give clearance, then they can export that biological genetically modified living modified organism like BT cotton. But recently India also want to import this BT mustard also like BT cotton, because all cotton farmers are depending on this BT cotton. After BT cotton came, the insect pests are reduced, insect pesticides are not being used. This is the only sustainable management aspect, because this reducing chemical pollution, one of the concept of this CBD is to reduce the chemical fertilizers and pesticides. To avoid chemical pesticides, they have made this BT cotton, but for that also people are objecting, uh, thinking that it will pose threat to biodiversity, because it is killing insects. Some other beneficial organisms may be killed. That is the concept of this. With that idea only, some recently this BT mustard was introduced on trial basis by IARI, Indian Agriculture Research Institute. The farmers body also want to import it. They want it because this mustard is also affected by insects. But somebody filed in the High Court, this Supreme Court, for preventing its import BT mustard. But once this biosafety clearance house gives permission, it can be imported, and now it is under sub judice. If Supreme Court will take decision on that import of BT mustard, and many other countries, because we are some NGOs, they have objected because of apprehension that the mustard will be consumed by human beings, it may cause harm to human beings. But there is no such scientific evidence showing that because this insect physiology is different from human physiology. Even BT cotton leaves are also consumed by sheep, goat, cattle, and we are consuming the meat from them, but we are not affected. That is only affecting only insects, but there is no apprehension that this living modified organisms are pose a threat to biodiversity. I don't think it will not pose, but they are helping to reducing the use of this chemical fertilizers and chemical pesticides. That is causing chemical pesticides are more harmful. They are carcinogenic. They are because of this chemical pesticides, many of our biodiversity was lost. Many and this the biosafety clearance house, they have to take a call and they have to give permission. Then we can import. This is about Cartagena protocol and biosafety for export import of this living modified organisms. Next, and this advanced informed agreement is also part of this Cartagena protocol. Under this, even this under Ministry of Agriculture, there is a plant quarantine office and animal quarantine office is there. Plant quarantine office at this Gurugram is there, and animal quarantine office at Chennai. They are regulating this import export of this any biological resources. If we want to import any new plant variety, or if we want to export any our seed variety, if we want to import any seeds, many new varieties of plants are being imported to India, because ours is a agriculture dependent country. If we do not import high yielding varieties, our agriculture production will be reduced, and we should not stop importing this biological resources, thinking that it will pose a threat to biodiversity, like it will import invasive alien species. But we have to take different measures for regulating invasive alien species. For that reason only this plant quarantine office is there. They will examine, they will put the species under trial, and they will put the animal species or plant species under quarantine for a certain period. Then only they will give permission. And if any invasive alien species or any pest or disease is coming, then they will not give permission. Otherwise there should not be any blanket ban on import of any plant varieties or seeds, because recently we are cultivating any exotic horticulture crops. Many high yielding varieties we are importing. Even China, they are all using all living modified organisms, and they are dumping their fruits vegetables into India. That they are not objecting. But why we should stop our farmer from importing high yielding plant varieties or animal breeds? That should not be stopped. But plant quarantine office, under Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Quarantine Office, they are working. And and they should be informed under advance informed agreement. They should be informed before importing or exporting any exporter or importer. They have to take permission from this quarantine office. That is the concept of this advance informed agreement. Next. And biosafety clearance house is there at national level, or country of import, country of export, and it has to be permission has to be given by biosafety clearing house for import export of any living modified organism. Next. And I was explaining the Cartagena protocol space about this living modified organisms. It will not pose any, there should not be any threat to human or animal life for importing any living modified organisms. That is the purpose of this Cartagena protocol. Next. In Cartagena protocol, the MOEF is the nodal agency. That is the country regulatory authority. MOEF monitors for import or export of this living modified organisms. Next. And we have also made Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Rights Act. And under this, farmers are they can breed any cattle variety, and they can sell their seeds. That they are not come under this any. They will be protected. Even Orissa, if we go to tribal areas, many rice varieties we can see, indigenous local varieties. And yeah, many rice varieties. Many areas, only one or two varieties they cultivate. But in tribal areas, if you go, many local indigenous native varieties of vegetables, fruits, and rice, wheat, all other crops we can see. Even millets, cereals, local varieties, lot of varieties are available. They have to be protected, and farmers have to be protected under Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Rights Act. Also, this local breeders, farmers will not be discouraged from selling or marketing of their produce, and they need not take any permission from any agency under Biodiversity Act or any other international or national acts. The farmers will be, indigenous people will be protected for cultivation, for protection, for propagation, or even for selling of seeds. Farmers will be protected. But if the same local variety used by any company like Monsanto for marketing purpose, then they have to take permission from them. These local people have to be paid compensation. Next. Researchers also not to come under the purview. They can conduct research by taking on any plant variety or animal variety. Under Protection of Plant Varieties Act, they can freely sell, and they can multiply, they can grow crops or local varieties, and they will not be prevented by either Cartagena Protocol or any other Biodiversity Act or any other act. Next. And I was telling about under WTO also farmers have to be protected. If any patent is made, that if local varieties, if any traditional knowledge is recorded, this farmers can be effectively safeguarded. Next. And I think the trips we have already discussed. Next. And intellectual properties also rights also we have discussed, like GI, geographical indications, like patents, like copyrights, even food items also, even if pickles, our DFS was telling about pickle also, it is given this GI status. Even Hyderabad, that Alim food also it is given. Somewhere some sweet Rasagula Bengal also, Orissa. They have given GI, even food varieties made from plant crops also. These are the intellectual property rights, comes under intellectual property rights. Even not only companies will get patents, but farmers, local tribals, local, if they form a society, then they can, this traditional users, they will get GI indication, or if they create any brand, I think that also will be recognized. Like particular brand name they can sell. And uh, TRIPS is, it is a old agreement. 1996 it was made, and now it has come into WTO, World Trade Organization, that regulates the patents, copyrights, and all other, even software protection, even software privacy cannot be made. Even nowadays we are making genetic sequencing or biological resources. Only if genetic sequence, that is also to be protected. Our local microorganisms and plants, all are their gene sequencing is being done. If we know the sequence of genetic code, we can know the plant or animal variety name, species. And even in future, if the advanced technology comes, if we know the genetic code, genetic sequence, gene mapping of a organism, they can artificially create also that. And
So
that
there are 7 items GI tag.
GI tag, okay, very good.
Even this Koraput, Balaji rice is also GI tag.
Okay, GI tag, okay, has got.
And Koraput is the secondary center of origin of rice.
Yeah, many rice varieties and local varieties still they are cultivating, tribals. That is very good. In many areas, millets have been lost. We can't say millets, because 90% of our land is cultivated under commercial crops, either paddy, wheat, or cotton. Nobody is cultivating millets or local varieties. They have more nutritional security. We have to protect them, and we have to conserve them, and we have to propagate them. That is the idea of this UNCBDR. Even Biodiversity Act also favors it. Next. And geographical indications, I think that is covered. I think these are the various types of products that can be given GI tag. Next. Even many state governments also, they can get to GI tag for particular products, even particular type of variety of garment or any other thing. Next. Okay, thank you for listening patiently. And this is for reorient you. I think I recap. We have reviewed about our all this biodiversity and conservation related aspects in a nutshell. Thank you, everybody.